Ever get to the end of the month and I wonder, where did all my money go? If that's you, you are not alone. Today, I'm going to show you a simple, practical system to take control of your cash. A 50-30-20 rule, plus a few basic strategies you can use depending on your life. If you want a calmer and a smarter wallet, please stick around. Budgeting isn't about being boring or deprived. It's about being deliberate. When you control your money doesn't control you. A good budget helps you pay the essentials, enjoy life, and build financial security without guessing. Think of a budget like a map. If you're heading to a new city, a map tells you where to go. In the same way, a budget tells your paycheck where to go. Without one, you end up wandering. And that's when impulse buys, surprise bills, and creeping subscriptions eat your cash. Today, we'll start with 50-30-20 rule because it's simple to use, flexible, and great for beginners. Then we layer on other methods. So it works for you whether you're debt heavy, saving for a house, or trying to retire early. So the 50-30-20 rule, this is how it works. Allocate 50% of your take-home pay to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment. Remember, this is based on your net income, the money that actually lands in your bank account after taxes, not your gross salary. If you're wondering what counts as needs, needs can be things like rent or mortgages, electric, water, heating bills, basic groceries, transport, that is commuting costs, insurance like for your health or your car, minimum debt payments. These are generally things you must pay to live and work. What counts as wants can be things like eating out, subscriptions like streaming, apps beyond essentials, hobbies, travel, upgrades. These are simply lifestyle choices that are not strictly necessary. What counts as savings and debt payoff can be things like emergency fund contributions, retirement contributions. That's beyond workplace automatic deduction if you want extra. Extra debt payments, that's above minimum. Sinking fund for big goals like car, holiday, and down payment. Let's do the math from examples of two different incomes so you can see in real numbers. I will use net income because most people budget monthly. Let's take example A. John has a monthly net income, a take-home pay of $2,000. His needs are 50% of $2,000. So you calculate 2,000 times 0.5, that equals $1,000 of needs. His wants are 30% of $2,000. You calculate 2,000 times 0.3, which equals $600 of wants, while his savings are 20% of $2,000. So you calculate 2,000 times 0.2, which equals $400 of savings. On the other hand, example B, Luce has a monthly net income of $3,500. Her needs are 50% of $3,500. So you calculate $3,500 times 0.5, which equals $1,750 of needs. Her wants are 30% of $3,500. So you calculate 3,500 times 0.3, which equals $1,050 of wants. Her savings are 20% of $3,500, which equals $700 of savings. Simple, right? But you hear people say 50-30-20 is not realistic if you live in an expensive city. That's a fair point. But remember, that's just a guideline, not a law. The point is to create a budgeting structure. It's true, many people's needs are more than 50%, especially in price cities. If your needs are between 60 to 80%, maybe because your rent is high, don't panic. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you need a plan and adapt. Here are practical moves you can do. First, re-examine your needs. Switch to cheaper telecom or energy provider. Trim grocery bills with meal planning and fewer convenience purchases. Reassess subscriptions. Are you actually using them? Lower transport costs by walking, cycle, or switch to cheaper commute. Second, reduce housing expenses. Consider a roommate, smaller place, or renegotiate rent at lease renewal. Look at refinancing mortgage if rates are better, or seek professional advice. Third, increase income. Do side hustle. Ask for a pay rise or find higher paid roles. Even a modest increase can rebalance the percentages of your income. Fourth, reframe the percentages temporarily. Use a temporary plan. Instead of 50-30-20 rule, use 60-20-20 rule for needs, wants, and savings, or 60-30-10 if you need to prioritize paying down debt aggressively. The key is having a plan you can stick to and gradually improve. Remember, small changes compound. If you cut $50 from wants and add it to savings every month, that's $600 a year, and that's even without changing your salary. For me, 50-30-20 is my goal starter rule, but depending on your goals, other methods might fit better. Let's have a quick summary with advantage and disadvantage of these other methods. First is zero-based budgeting idea. Every pound has a job. Income minus expenses equal to zero. Basically, every pound allocated to a category. Best for people who want granular control and are detail-oriented. Advantage, maximizes intentionally. Disadvantage, time-consuming to maintain. Second is envelope method. Cash or digital buckets idea. Allocate cash into envelopes for categories. When the envelope is empty, you stop spending that category. Let's say you put $200 for monthly food budget in one of the envelopes. Once that money is finished in that envelope, you stop spending. Digital versions of envelope method via separate bank accounts or budgeting apps exist. Best for people who overspend and need physical limits of their budget. Advantage, powerful psychological control. Disadvantage, less convenient in a cashless world. Third is pay yourself first idea. Automatically move a fixed amount to savings right when you get paid, before you do anything else. Best for people who struggle to save. Advantage, automates discipline. Disadvantage, requires discipline in spending the remaining amount. Fourth is percentage-based variations idea. This is actually similar to 50-30-20, but in different splits, like 70-20-10 or 60-30-10, depending on goals. Best for flexibility to match income and a different life stage. Advantage, better for someone with reliable and a disposable income. Disadvantage, not useful for someone with very tight budget, where all money is spent on essentials like food and rent. Fifth is sinking funds and a bills calendar idea. Save monthly into pots for irregular but predictable expenses, like car tax, holidays, and Christmas. Best for avoid nasty supplies bills. Advantage, smooth cash flow. Disadvantage, requires planning. Try to pick one primary system, like 50-30-20, zero-based, or envelope method, and pair it with one habit like automatic savings or monthly review for the best results. Budgeting is a habit, not a one-time show. Okay, here is a simple routine. Weekly, quick log and add major purchases to your spreadsheet. Check progress on your variable categories like groceries and petrol. Move small leftover amounts to savings if you can. On a monthly basis, rebalance next month's plan if something changed, like utility increase. Pay yourself first. Schedule transfers for savings and debt overpayment. Review goals. Are you on track for emergency fund, holiday, or deposits? Consistency beats perfection. Spend 30 to 60 minutes a month and you will see major progress. Or spend 5 minutes a week to stay on top. Here are a few mistakes I see a lot when it comes to budgeting, and this is how to avoid them. First, using gross income instead of net income. Always budget on take-home pay. Second, not automating savings. If you have to remember, you will forget. Automate. Third, ignoring irregular expenses. Set up sinking funds. Fourth, being too strict for yourself. Deprivation leads to binging. Leave space for small enjoyable ones. Fifth, not tracking actuals. Planned budgets don't mean much unless you compare actual spend. Update the spreadsheet. Also, sometimes people ask questions like, what if I have irregular income? Use averages. Calculate the last 12 months' average monthly net income and build your budget from that. Or, for example, for freelancers, prioritize building a buffer 3 to 6 months and treat low-income months conservatively. Or sometimes people ask, should I pay off debt or save? Do both. If high interest rate debts, let's say between 8 to 10%, prioritize paying it down faster while keeping a small emergency fund between $500 to $1,000. Then funnel more in debt payoff. For low interest debt, balance retirement contributions and debt payments. Also, sometimes people ask, are the 20% savings enough? It depends. I think 20% is a solid baseline. If you have big goals, like house deposit or early retirement, increase your savings percentages and cut once temporary. Let me give you 2 quick case study scenarios. Case 1 is for a new graduate on a $2,000 a month take-home pay. The total needs are equal to $1,000, and that is rent $650, groceries $150, utilities $50, and a transport $150. Wants a total of $600, and that is social life $200, subscription $50, shopping $150, miscellaneous $200. Saving is total $400, and that is emergency $200, retirement $100, and fund $100. The result, it works. The priorities should be building emergency fund, cut one subscription, and cook more. Now let's check case study 2. A mid-career person with $6,000 a month take-home pay. The total needs are $3,000, and that is mortgage for $1,800, utilities for $200, groceries for $400, transport $400, and insurance $200. Wants a total of $1,800, and that is travel $600, dining $400, upgrades $400, and the hobbies $400. Savings a total of $1,200, and that is retirement $600, investments $300, and the sinking funds $300. Results comfortable, but could increase investments for long-term growth. This shows how the same rule scales up or down. The choices within each bucket are what define your lifestyle. I've got few tips for your budgeting. Automate transfers the day you get paid. Build a 1-month buffer while you learn the system that stops overspending when bills hit. Use round numbers to keep it simple. For example, $350 instead of $347.63. Have fun. Small weekly allowances so the budget doesn't seem like punishment. Revisit your plan every 3 months, all after a life change. Alright, so as I've explained before, use 50-30-20 method as baseline. And you can also use other budgeting methods. And you can automate one transfer to savings today. Remember, small consistent steps win. For easy budgeting, you can also use spreadsheets like Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, or simply write down your monthly budget on the piece of paper. Or you can also use digital monthly budgeting templates, which you buy once online and download it in your computer for use on a monthly basis without incur any further expenses. Please smash the like button if this video helped, subscribe to our channel, and share this with someone who needs to stop wondering where their money went. Also, please watch our next video here about poor money management and how to avoid it. Thank you for watching.